listening to the Created to Create show.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another Monday. Welcome to another episode of the Created to Create show. I'm your host, Ben Gluntz. I hope you guys are having as good a day as I am. It's a Monday. Everybody always talks about the Monday blues and this and that. But to be honest, even though there is a lot to do this week, I'm feeling pretty grateful and I'm feeling pretty stoked, you could say. If you guys haven't done so and you like what you're listening to, you like the show, share it with a friend, rate the podcast, subscribe. It all means so much more than you guys actually think. And every like, every comment, it just kind of helps us grow and helps more and more people hear what we have going on here. And we hear, all the things that we're talking about on a weekly basis, as well as all the interviews that we're doing and all the cool people we're having on the show. So I've recently got into a new skill that I'm trying to develop. Film photography. I really have been shooting a little bit on 35 millimeter film for maybe a couple years now, just point and shoot stuff, nothing crazy. But recently I was more introduced to medium format, which is a step above 35 millimeter film, and shooting on 120 film. And it's been fun, but it's been difficult. And there's, a lot more technical aspects to film photography than there are to digital photography. And you kind of have to take your time when shooting. And I was just reflecting the other day on like what that was like for me a couple months ago when I picked up the camera for the first time, and the fear that I had of, oh my gosh, if I shoot this thing wrong, I'm going to have to pay $30 to develop this roll of film. And what if none of them are developed right? Like, what if I shot all of them overexposed? What if some of them are just like way too grainy and, I missed composition on some of them? I don't know. There's just a lot of fear going into film photography because as opposed to digital photography, you can't just take a photo, sit there and immediately look at it. It's just, you have to wait. You have to go through the slower process. You have to be methodical about it, which also makes you just take a little bit longer time when you're shooting each photo. But anyway, I was reflecting on that and I was just thinking about how scary it is to start something new. Like, everybody kind of talks about that, that period where you are inspired. You want to like make a change in your life, or you want to develop a new skill, but you're scared. There's so many like fears involved there. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that today. Just the fact that, there's so many different levels to a skill, right? And I think sometimes we can really get caught up in even just the beginning and getting started. And so today I want to talk through what it takes to kind of get started in developing a new skill. So for me, like, some of the things that I go through is I always ask myself some questions, right? I ask myself some questions that kind of determine what my next steps should be when I'm developing a new skill. So for example, when I was picking up the film camera, I didn't know exactly why I wanted to shoot film right away. So I asked myself that question. I was like, what is the reason I actually want to learn this skill? Do I want to earn some extra money with it? Do I want to prove to myself that I can actually accomplish it? Is it more of just a hobby? Like, what is the actual goal? Because that kind of determines how much effort I'm going to put into it, how much money I'm going to put into learning the skill, who I'm going to ask to actually like get advice on learning the new skill and developing myself. And I think that's really important. Another question I ask myself is this something that excites me? And to what degree does it excite me? Does failing at this excite me? Which is kind of weird to think about. But if failing excites me because then I get to come back from that failure and be better than that failure, then that's also a good sign that you should continue to like learn that skill. Because if you're excited about the failure, then you're also going to get excited when you succeed as well. And then that next question is, what does success actually look like? Like, is success just me getting relatively good at this? Like, kind of good? Is success me being able to just shoot like a really clean portrait? Or is success me getting so good to where people want to pay me, a very high rate in order to shoot film photos of them? There's lots of levels to any given skill. And I think it's good to define for ourselves where we want to be, because then that gives us kind of a roadmap, or at least it gives us the framework to build a roadmap towards that level of success that we want to achieve. Also, I think for us as creatives, and for us as creatives who, want to have a purpose in life and want to have a purpose in what we're doing, I think it's also important to ask yourself, who am I serving with this skill? Like, when I do learn this skill and I get good at film photography, like, who am I serving? Am I serving myself? Am I just wanting to be able to shoot really good photos, landscape photos, whatever it is, and just kind of keep those for myself? Or am I developing this skill to hopefully serve people one day, whether that's, capturing weddings and capturing portraits and family photos, or whether it's taking photos and then sharing them with people to bring joy. Because ultimately, I think it's better if we're serving others with our skills. Like, God gave us these gifts for a reason, and he gave us these gifts to serve others with, and even to glorify him with as well. Next steps. I think after you ask these questions, there are a series of like next steps that I have kind of gone through that have helped me kind of max out my time, right? Because we have a limited amount of time, resources to be able to do the things that we want to do in life. And so I think it's important to kind of identify where you want to go next. One step I took is I identified who in my life had that skill set already. And I asked myself, is this someone that I can feasibly approach? One, can I even get in contact with them? And two, if I get in contact with them, am I going to be able to like glean anything from them? Am I going to be able to learn anything from them? And so I contacted my buddy Hunter, who I knew was already in film and shooting a lot of film, and just started asking him questions, like, hey, like, what camera do you use? Similar to what I was talking about earlier, like people have asked me over the course of my career when it comes to digital photography or videography or production. And that kind of leads into number two, which is research, like research the heck out of it. Watch YouTube videos, read forums, and hear testimonies from other people who have already acquired that skill and like been down that road already. And then number three, we kind of already talked about it, but set a goal. Like, even if it's small, even if, for me, I was like, okay, I want to shoot like one good roll, right? Like, one good roll of medium format film is, 10 to 13 shots usually, 10 to 16 shots usually. And so I was like, okay, I want to shoot like one good roll. I want to get some photos that I feel pretty proud of, things that I think look good, like photos that I think look good. And so that was a small goal for me. Obviously, I also put a goal in mind to get proficient enough to be able to, like, way down the road, hopefully shoot really solid film, like portraits of my family. Because, with this whole creative journey that I've been on for about 7 or 8 years now, that's also been a core goal of mine, is how can I capture life in a way that I can remember down the road and hopefully show my kids and my grandkids, if I have those, just these really cool memories, and like capture them in a way that I'm proud of and capture them in a way that looks good and feels good and all that. So, and then 4 is just start, take action, like just do it as Nike says. And, that's definitely cheesy, but it's true. You just have to start somewhere, and perfectionism is just the thief of all joy, and it kills motivation. And, the longer you want to perfect something, or even the longer you procrastinate on something, then you're either going to lose the dream of hopefully learning that skill, or you're just going to, lose the drive and the mentality, and even sometimes the resources. I mean, going back to the whole, like, find somebody in your network that you can learn from. If you like hit them up and you ask them and they're like, yeah, like I'll be glad to teach you, show you, and you never necessarily reach back out, or don't reach out for months, the chances of you actually getting like a really good lesson from them or really good advice from them like goes down quite a bit because they feel less and less motivated to help you out. Number 5, when you do get in those rooms with people and as you're learning the skill, just be humble. Look for ways to serve, ask for help. I think the most important thing you can do in life in general is be humble and ask for help and look for ways to serve. But especially when you're learning something new and you're like taking baby steps, you 100% need to be humble. Like you know nothing in this area. Everybody else knows way more than you. And so you need to be in a place where you can receive that. And then reflect a lot. I think that's something that I've struggled with personally, is always reflecting and assessing where you are. For the first 6 months that I was running, I just kind of ran and I didn't necessarily reflect on how I felt during each run, where I was, checking in with myself and kind of checking in with the goals that I had, but also checking in with how I was feeling through the process and if I was still enjoying it, whatever it is. And so I think like reflecting often helps us really check in with ourselves and create like tangible goals that we can achieve, while also like resetting goals if a goal is too big for us, if it's too much, if it's too much stress, whatever it is. And then one bonus one for you guys is, guys, if you're trying to figure out how to learn a new skill, you have to obsess over the smallest details. Michael Jordan, the reason why he got so great is because he obsessed over the smallest details. He obsessed over ball handling. He obsessed over lateral quickness and agility and like being able to play defense well. And he obsessed over shooting. He would shoot thousands of shots a day. He would put in way more work than the next guy. And he would obsess over the smallest of details of the game of basketball because he knew that he wanted to be great at it. And he knew that's what it was going to take. So if you're trying to learn like anything new, then just obsess over it. Obsess over, how you're going to get great at the smallest details. So yeah, it's really cool to think about starting a new skill because it's really exciting, but at the same time, it's really scary too. So don't be ashamed if you like have fears or reservations about starting something new. I think everybody does when they're first beginning something. And to be honest, everybody does as they're like fully into a skill or fully down the road of a journey that they started even years ago. For example, I still get nervous starting podcasts and like hitting record and being like, okay, what am I actually going to say to you guys today? Like, because in all honesty, I'm just sitting here. There's 2 cameras pointed at me and there's nobody in front of me right now that's like actually listening to me other than hopefully you guys after I edit and post this. Just know that like you're not alone in that and you're always going to have fears and reservations. But yeah, enough of me talking. Let's phone a friend and get another perspective on this. Is this Duncan Smith?
Yes, sir. How are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just had a 3-hour drive south right now.
That's perfect. It sounds like the perfect time to call you then.
It is.
Well, I got you on the line because I'm recording my podcast right now, and I'm kind of talking about developing new skills and just the different steps that we kind of go through as humans, trying to figure out like whether or not we should pursue something that we feel inspired to pursue and like develop a new skill. Like I've been talking about film photography and how I've been getting into that recently, but you're a very talented director, filmmaker as well. And you have a really interesting story about how you kind of got started in that. And so my main question is, when you first found out about like videography, filmmaking, storytelling, what were your feelings going into like the process of learning that skill? And what were like maybe some of your fears and stuff that you faced, and how did you take action?
So I really started getting interested in video when I was in high school. I saw a few people on YouTube making cool stuff, and I kind of just got into like, messing around with the GoPro, making skiing videos. Started playing around with like some Lego stop motion stuff, but I didn't really know that could be a career or how you'd even go about it becoming a career. And it wasn't until I was in college where I was originally a biology major. And long story short, it did not go well at all. Being a biology major that first semester. It went so well that they asked me to leave the biology program. And so I switched over to economics, which is what I graduated with. And so it was definitely that, like, sort of like the first real failure, I would say, in my life, where I like poured everything into, study biology, pass the classes and that sort of thing. It was the first time I just felt like I really came up short. And so I switched to economics. That's what my major was. But around that time, this is like January of 2017, the whole travel scene on YouTube was taking off.
Okay.
Am I coming?
Oh, like Sam Colder and all of them?
Yeah. So actually, I remember I was sitting in the library and I was supposed to be studying for a test or something. And I remember I was on YouTube and his one of his India vlogs popped up where he was like standing on a crane in India.
Classic.
And I was just like, could not stop watching that video over and over and over again for like, I don't know, 20 minutes. And I just watched all of his videos. And it was one of those things where like, okay, here's a guy who's only a couple of years older than me, traveling the world and doing this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck, in a library at a college, just studying math equations. And
what a
I
bummer.
was just like, all right, I've got to figure out how to do this. If this guy figured out how to do it, it can't be impossible.
Yeah.
And so I was taking the train in every day to save money for school, and it was a 2-hour train ride each way, so 4 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And I was, yeah.
What time were you getting up in the morning?
I would usually, I think I'd usually get up around 6, and then I would take the 8 o'clock train, or I'd probably usually get there around 8, because I'd usually have my first class around 9, I want to say. So most days I'm starting 9 or 10 a.m. usually. Wow. And
so
I'm not getting back until 8 p.m., 9 p.m., if not later.
Wow. So you were just using that time essentially on the train to learn the skills.
Yeah, I just started deep diving into tutorials. I would, if I didn't have to like get an assignment done or something, I would just I have my laptop open with Premiere, just be watching tutorials on my phone or listening to podcasts. It just started like following along as much as I could, listening to like every possible resource I could find. Like I would just hunt down every podcast from every director, every YouTuber I looked up to, and just try and find every single thing they've done.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where in between classes, if I'm like walking from building to building, I just started watching tutorials. I got to the point where I was editing in the back of classes, that sort of thing.
Sounds like you were a terrible student.
I definitely put less time in, than I could have into the economics degree. But I was like, you know what? I think it's worth the risk.
That's funny. Well, it sounds like you were a terrible student in college, but it sounds like you were a great student to the skill that you were trying to learn.
Well, I was just like, I'm going to do everything I can, maintain like where I need to be, for my degree.
Right.
But I was just like every spare second, I'm going to try and figure out how to do this thing because like growing up in Massachusetts, I didn't know anyone who did anything in the video world. I started getting to know like a handful of people like in New Hampshire, which is a couple hours away.
Yeah.
Like the last 2 years of college, but that was really it. So I think the next step sort of like in my journey of growing was hunting down people who are more talented than me. Because like you can only get so far through tutorials. Like they'll get you to like a decent level where you can start charging. But generally, like you need to find people who are ahead of you. And so I started using Instagram to hunt down mainly people who are really talented and who are Christians. Because I was like, all right, I'm a Christian, they're a Christian. There's probably a good chance we're gonna be able to connect better. And so Matt Vitsky was one of those first people. Crazy enough.
That's wild. Yeah. Well, it sounds like the first two steps that I have, that I like usually go through are identify people in your life that have that skill already and try to approach them and see if you can like talk to them about it. And then the second one is research. So like watching YouTube, podcasts, all that stuff. So it sounds like that was kind of like your mode of action as well. Like you were basically looking for any sort of content that could teach you the skills that you wanted to learn to accomplish like the goal that you had of making it out into the world and like creating cool videos at the time. Like that was like the extent of like your inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's so cool, dude. So what was like, did you have any fears or reservations like going into it? And how did you kind of attack those?
There was so much fear, so much self-doubt. It just felt like this insane mountain to climb. Because kind of my goals, I sort of had two main goals at the beginning. One was to be able to travel and like have all these crazy experiences.
Right.
The other was like big movies and TV shows. And so like, two just enormous goals. And I had zero skills, by the way. Like I had like no talent whatsoever. None of it came naturally to me. The only area where I was like, I think I might have something is I've always been more of a creative thinker, just when it comes to like coming up with unique ideas and that sort of thing. But
right.
I could not frame up a shot well. I couldn't color. I couldn't hold the camera steady. I didn't know how to edit anything. So I was very much starting from zero. And I definitely didn't feel like I had any sort of like natural gifting with it. I'd see those like, high school girls posting their like, the school sports photos, and they would look miles better than me. You know? And I was just like,
you're like,
this
no way I can even get close to doing that.
No, not at all. And I remember it was like a solid 2 years of just being terrible with everything, editing, color, you name it. Before I like made a clip, like a shot where I was like, oh, that's actually how I imagined it.
Yeah.
Like I still remember the first photo I ever took. That was good. And I was like, oh wow, I guess I can take a good photo.
So was that
it was just like,
was that even like a goal from the get-go? Like you said, you sucked for 2 years. So did you have that goal in mind of, okay, I'm going to make a shot that looks good, or I'm going to take a photo that looks good? Or were you just like, I'm having fun with this. This is like, the process is fun enough for me. Like, I don't really care if I'm good or not.
Yeah, no, I very much had this mentality of, like no one can just sit down at a piano, and write anything that Mozart wrote. Like it's a skill set that just takes time. And so I was kind of willing to sacrifice the time to be terrible, and just putting in those hours. Yeah. In order of just like with the off chance that I might actually be able to do this thing that I enjoy doing, and can't get enough of doing, even though I wasn't good at all.
2 years is a long time too, to stick through that, because I think a lot of people quit during that time, whether it's 2 years or even 2 months, they don't necessarily see results. And so they can't, like a lot of the time the results are like what really motivates you. And so if you can't even see results, like a lot of people quit. So what kind of kept you going even in that 2 years? Like, because I'm sure there were times when you were just like majorly frustrated.
Oh yeah, all the time. Because like you never create anything that you're like, oh, that's how I imagined it, or that's good, or that's better than I thought it was going to be. It's always worse than you were hoping it would be. Right. I think the biggest thing was just prayer. And kind of like my recurring prayer was always just like, Lord, if this is the direction you want me to go in, like open the doors. And if not, like if you want me to, do something else, I don't care what it is, just point me in that direction. Yeah. I would say that the real sort of like struggle I felt was like definitely feeling a strong pull towards continuing to do video. And like, I can't get enough of it. Oh shoot, there's a tire in the road. Someone just hit. Anyways,
ladies and gentlemen, he's actually driving. This is not set up.
I am actually driving to San Diego right now. That was crazy.
It's so funny.
but it was just like, all right, Lord, like, if this is the direction you want me to go in, like, I'm gonna go that direction, as long as I think this is where you want me to be. But like, kind of my prayer was also like, like, God, if there's like an easier, like, or just a more clear path, like accounting or, whatever, like make that clear, or engineering or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's just much more of a clear like structure of how you get into that world, and there's a lot more, just stability and just things that, like, again, most people sort of desire in life.
Right.
But I just had this sort of like, I guess, innate sense of like, no, I'm pretty sure this is the direction I'm supposed to go in, even if I don't have the results yet for it.
Mm. Yeah, I love that so much. I mean, it's a lot of tenacity too, in order to like get through that period of just sucking for so long.
Yeah.
And then eventually, because you're so talented now, like you're so gifted now. And, even when I met you, like you were already so gifted in like what you were doing. So it's like funny even how, like, I wonder how many people who meet you now would even come to guess that you had that 2-year period after really starting this where you just weren't good, because I think what we do as humans is we kind of assume that people that are already good at something are naturally gifted and that they didn't necessarily put in that sweat equity. And so, yeah, I don't know. That just like wonders me, like who in your network, like even thinks that you had that period versus just thinking that you're just naturally good.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's kind of, honestly, it's kind of one of the reasons why, like, I've always kept up all my old posts. Like, you can go back to like 2019 or something. And even then I was
you
still
see the
like
progression. Yeah, that's cool.
I was still like 2 years into it, but like, I've always liked when creatives have, like, when they don't get rid of all their old work, just so you can see like, oh yeah, like they're figuring it out too. And like, you can sort of see like, oh, around this time, this is when they really jumped to that, whatever the next level is.
Right.
So, I appreciate that. But yeah, I think like, and then I think even like a big reason for moving to LA was to be in the mix and to be around people who were so much further than me.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, as soon as I got to LA, I was like, oh man, I've got to step it up now. Like there's some real talent here.
You're in a bigger fit or a bigger pond, more fish.
Oh yeah. With bigger fish.
Bigger fish, more pond, yeah.
bigger pond.
Yeah.
And and so I think there's always this like desire, just like, okay, like I definitely like just love the process of learning the craft and really trying to master it, and I think that was always just a driver of just like, all right, everyone's like miles ahead of me. I've got to catch up somehow, And so it was weird because I remember moving to LA and thinking like, oh, this long journey has like led to here, and then you get to LA and then you're like, oh man, I'm still not.
Yeah, still learning so much. Yeah. Yeah, I got that too, for sure. And I think whenever you level up in anything, you're always going to be met with like more competition, and obviously that's like the way that we grow is by putting ourselves around people that are better than us, and putting ourselves in the fire essentially so that we learn and grow. Because otherwise, if you are the biggest fish in the pond, then you can easily just stop growing and not learn as much. But also, I think that comes back to even just understanding what your goals are as well, because the biggest stress in life is working towards something that you didn't necessarily even want in the first place.
Totally.
So, yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story, dude. I mean, sharing like, part of your journey and all of that. I think there's so much to learn even just from you, and like the tenacity, like I said, that you have in still now, but even just in the beginning of learning this skill. If you had one thing to leave everybody with, just one piece of advice for people who are maybe just at the beginning of learning a new skill that they're trying to develop, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question. This advice. I think there can sometimes be like if you really want to learn something and you're going to spend the time to learn it and sacrifice for it. And if you don't, like, and you just like talking about wanting to do it, like, that's okay too. But there is a difference there of like being willing to sacrifice parts of your life, you know, in order to actually, you know, become good at whatever it is that you're trying to learn.
So true. Yeah.
And so that, like, there is a cost, you know, to getting good at anything.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There's a cost, and you got to figure out whether or not you're willing to pay that cost.
So, exactly. So definitely pray about it. Spend a lot of time
Pray about it, yes. That's something I didn't even...
actually, like, doing it.
Yeah, I'm going to add that to my list. I didn't necessarily have that officially on my list, but pray about it. Before number one,
all the time.
Pray about it. And then
that's right, pray about
in between 1 and 2, and then 2 and 3, and then 3 and 4, just pray about it.
Yeah, and while you're doing it, keep praying about it.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you, bro. Safe travels to wherever you're going, and we'll chat more soon.
Man. Sounds good, man. Talk soon.
All right, later.
Peace.
Gotta love it. Duncan's so talented, and it's always a pleasure talking to him. And yeah, he's just, you know, he's said it perfectly. You know, you got to put in the sweat equity. You got to count the costs, you know, whether or not you're willing to learn something and put in the work to learn it, because there's always going to be a cost to everything. One other thing that I kind of wanted to leave with is just the fact that God really did create us to be multifaceted. And I think it's like imperative, and it's fun that, like, it's imperative that we try new things, but it's also fun that we get to try new things. So I just want to leave you guys with a bit of encouragement, you know, like God created us as individuals to be capable of so much more than we think of ourselves. And, you know, you may not have to follow through and get insanely good and be the absolute best at like a skill or a craft or an art, like whatever it is, but it's okay to try. And I think we should have fun trying new things, and we should have fun pushing ourselves to the limit, but even just pushing ourselves in general. And it's okay to try multiple things at once too. You know, like, we don't necessarily have to be one track mind. Oh, I'm just doing photography right now, and like I can't do anything else. And maybe at that time you can't do anything else, and it's like it's time to focus in on that one thing. But I encourage you guys to just always try new things and be trying multiple new things at once, even because I think it just helps us grow the most. And plus, it's just anything is going to be better than not taking action. So, guys, again, if you learned something today, share it with a friend, hit subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Any new skills that you guys are learning that you're proud of, that you need help with, throw them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, love to chat about it. Hit me in the DMs, all that good stuff. But we'll see you on Saturday for a really cool interview, and then we'll see you next week back here on Monday. See you guys. Peace.
You're listening to the Created to Create show.